Here's the uncomfortable truth. Prince Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein, the allegations, that car crash interview, the settlement, all of it has been one of the most damaging scandals in modern royal history. And yet, the two men who now define the monarchy's future have barely acknowledged it publicly. Now, before anyone says it's not their business or it's private, remember, these are public figures funded by taxpayers, representing an institution that claims to embody duty, service, and moral leadership. So when something this serious happens and the response is silence, we have to ask, is this strategy? Is it loyalty? Or is it something more troubling? Prince Andrew was close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted offender, for years. Photos, flight logs, visits to private properties. This wasn't a casual acquaintance. Then came Virginia Giuffre's allegations that she was trafficked to Andrew when she was 17. Andrew denied everything. In 2019, trying to clear his name, Andrew did that BBC Newsnight interview. You might remember it. The Pizza Express alibi. The claim that he can't sweat. The complete lack of empathy for Epstein's victims. It was supposed to help. Instead, it was a disaster. Public outrage was immediate. Andrew was stripped of his military titles and royal patronages. He stepped back from public duties. Eventually, he settled Giuffre's civil lawsuit. No admission of liability, but millions paid out. And through all of this, King Charles, then Prince Charles, and Prince William said, "What exactly?" Now here's where it gets interesting, and where a lot of people start feeling uncomfortable. During active legal proceedings, sure, there are good reasons not to comment. But we're well past that now. The settlement happened. The trial never materialized. Andrew has been essentially retired from public life. So why is everyone still so quiet? Let's consider the possible reasons. First possibility, protecting the institution. The royal family has this old motto, never complain, never explain. The idea is that engaging with controversy makes it bigger, and the best move is to stay dignified, say nothing, and let it blow over. But here's the problem with that strategy. Some things are too big to just blow over. Some issues demand a response, and when you don't give one, people assume the worst. Second possibility, family loyalty. Despite everything, Andrew is Charles's brother and William's uncle. Maybe they believe him. Maybe they're torn between family and duty. Maybe they think that publicly condemning him would be a betrayal. I get that. Family is complicated. But when you're not just a family, you're an institution representing an entire nation, the calculation changes. Third possibility, and this is the one that really bothers people, they simply don't think it's urgent enough. Maybe they're hoping time and silence will make this fade away. Maybe they don't see the need to address it because Andrew is already sidelined. But if that's the thinking, they're seriously miscalculating the room. Let me tell you why this isn't just royal gossip or tabloid drama. The monarchy exists on a very specific premise, that it represents something beyond politics, beyond personal interest. It's supposed to stand for service, duty, moral authority. That's literally the job description. So when serious allegations of sexual abuse arise, allegations involving someone close to the throne, and the response is silence, what does that actually communicate? To survivors of abuse, it can feel like their stories don't matter enough to warrant acknowledgement. To young people already questioning whether monarchy is an outdated concept, it confirms that suspicion. To anyone who believes in accountability, it looks like one rule for the powerful and another for everyone else. And here's the really tricky part. Both Charles and William have spent years championing causes related to mental health, supporting vulnerable people, addressing trauma. William's work on homelessness, Charles's various charitable initiatives. These are genuine, meaningful efforts. But there's a credibility problem when you're publicly advocating for the vulnerable while remaining silent about serious allegations within your own family. People notice that gap, and they wonder, do these values only count when it's convenient? This isn't about demanding they throw Andrew to the wolves, but it is about asking for some acknowledgement that this situation is serious, that these issues matter, that survivors deserve to be heard. Now let's talk about what leadership actually looks like, because that's really what this comes down to. We're living through a moment where institutions everywhere are being held accountable in ways they never were before. The Catholic Church, Hollywood, universities, corporations, there's been a reckoning over how powerful organizations handle abuse allegations and protect their own. The royal family doesn't get a pass just because they're royal. William especially is in a fascinating position here. He spent his adult life trying to modernize the monarchy, make it more relatable, more accessible, more relevant to ordinary people. But here's the test. Can you modernize an institution without addressing its uncomfortable truths? Can you claim to represent contemporary values while using centuries-old playbooks to avoid accountability? I'd argue you can't. At least not credibly. There's an old saying, the cover-up is worse than the crime. Now, I'm not accusing Charles and William of covering anything up, but their silence functions like avoidance. And when people don't get transparency, they fill in the blanks themselves, and those assumptions are rarely charitable. Think about what could be different. Imagine if, when Charles became king, he had addressed this directly, not throwing Andrew under the bus, but acknowledging the seriousness of the allegations, expressing support for abuse survivors generally, making clear that no one in the family is above accountability. It would have been uncomfortable. It would have been risky, but it also would have been leadership. Here's what a lot of people miss. This isn't just about Andrew anymore. It's about what kind of institution the monarchy wants to be. Every day Charles and William stay silent. They're making a choice about priorities. They're signaling what matters and what doesn't. And the signal a lot of people are receiving is, protecting the family's reputation matters more than addressing serious allegations. Is that fair? Maybe not entirely. But perception matters, especially for an institution that exists entirely on public consent and public funding. And here's the thing that should worry them. Younger generations are already skeptical about monarchy as a concept. The idea of inherited privilege, of people being born into positions of power and wealth, it doesn't sit well with values of equality and meritocracy. The monarchy's best defense has always been, yes, but we serve. We sacrifice privacy, normal life, to represent the nation and do good works. But when that service doesn't include accountability, when that duty doesn't extend to addressing serious allegations, what's the argument anymore? Look, I know this is complicated. Family dynamics are messy. Public life is brutal. Balancing institutional preservation with moral clarity isn't easy. But that's exactly why we need leaders who can navigate that complexity, not avoid it. The silence around Andrew doesn't just affect Andrew. It shapes how we see Charles's reign, how we imagine William's future kingship, and whether the monarchy can be what it claims to be. Maybe that silence is strategic. Maybe it's protective. Maybe they genuinely believe it's the right approach. But to many people watching, especially those who already question whether monarchy belongs in modern democracy, it looks like complacency at best, something worse at worst. And here's my honest take. If the monarchy wants to survive, if it wants to remain relevant and respected, it needs to prove it can handle failure and scandal with the same accountability it would demand from any other institution. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of a crown if it doesn't stand for something beyond itself? That's where I'll leave it. If this made you think, hit subscribe. We tackle the questions others avoid. Drop a comment with your perspective. Should Charles and William break their silence? Or is staying quiet the right move?